Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to... God damn it. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 223 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one gun show in Canada. We're recording on April 20th. That's the pod.
Sorry, did you say joke. Gun show or gong show?
Yeah, well,
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
April 20th, 2020. I ruined a perfectly good pot joke intro.
Which only makes sense because I'm talking next, coming from Vancouver Island. Uh-oh. My name is Ian. I'm a hobby farmer and current full-time prepper on Vancouver Island.
I'm Dave, competitive shooter, match director, instructor, and outdoorsman.
I'm Gavin, an essential most days of the week, but not every day of the week. I'm also tired of waiting in lines, grocery stores, and also tired of boomer cucks on the internet.
Aren't we
As
all?
always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical.
We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback and email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. Follow the links.
And once you've done that, I've got some more links for you to follow. You can check us out on the Facebooks at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast. Do it. You won't be disappointed. Or maybe you will, but then you've got something to give us feedback on.
Exactly. At least you know how to get a hold of us. We need your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
Now it's time for my part of the show. My favorite part of the show. Can you tell it's Get High Day?
Yes.
I was going to do a podcast, but then I got high. That's how the Method Man song goes, right?
Yeah, something like that. You're right along the lines.
Close enough.
My wife is like vigorously shaking her head because she knows I know that that's not Method Man, but I don't remember which man it is.
Is it the Red Man? Or the RZA?
I don't remember.
No. It's neither of those. You're
Wait.
thinking of Wu-Tang Clan.
No. It's the guy that we met at GAT Show. Snow. He's the guy that sung about that.
Afro Man, by the way.
Afro Man, yes, thank you.
I knew it was a man that raps. Anyway, what are you smoking? I mean, drinking. We're going to start with, let's go clockwise with Gavin. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Havana Club and Coke Zero because we're living in a communist paradise right now. I figured I would drink appropriately.
I appreciate that. Dave, what are you drinking?
Just sticking with my Ultra today. Keeping her light.
Lame.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
Well, interesting enough, you know what they say about great minds and fools. So Gavin and I are on the same page today. I'm drinking Bacardi Oak rum, Coke Zero, and a lime to make a Cuba Libre, just to fight communism in my own little special way.
I'm in the Coke.
That's right.
Can't get scurvy if you eat the lime, right?
That's right.
Nope. Science.
Science. I am drinking Coors Ultra, which I would like to remind our listeners is not the same as Banquet, despite what the ads led me to believe. Very disappointed in whoever owns this now. Molson? Screw you guys. I want my beer back. We need a new official beer. If you want to support the show, if you own a brewery, if you know somebody that owns a brewery, and you want to give me beer to drink on the show, I really don't. I will drink. I'm drinking a Molson product right now. I'll drink anything.
It's true.
All right, let's go into the main topic. We have no freaking news this week because I don't wanna. But in celebration of April the 20th, no wait, that's not it. In celebration of our 223rd episode, we're going to talk about AR-15s, a rifle that is traditionally chambered in .223. So, first a brief history of the AR. So, way back in 1922, a man was born in Ghostport, Indiana, and he went to high school in California. And then he worked at an aircraft company installing armament. And then World War II broke out. And Eugene Stoner enlisted into the United States Marine Corps.
Also an
And he went on
appropriate
to
last name given today's date.
Well done. Eugene Stoner went on to make sure a lot of communists got killed in the South Pacific. After the war ended, he went on to work for Fairchild Engine and Airplane Corporation's daughter company, Armalite. The Armalite, of course, is famous for creative naming of their firearms, like the AR-3, the AR-9, the AR-11, the AR-12, and eventually the AR-15. The AR, of course, standing for Armalite Rifle, and then the model number. Numbering things like Glock before Glock started to make curtains. I guess curtain rods. Eventually, one of the rifles was selected by the United States Air Force's survival rifle, the AR-5, collapsible rifle and chambered, I think, in 22. And in 1956, Armalite designed the AR-15. In 1959, it sold the patent and trademarks to Colt Manufacturing, you know, the famous gun company Colt, makers of the Colt Python, the handgun that I have an awkward boner for. Colt went on to turn this into the M16, sell it to the United States military, and saw service throughout Vietnam. The patents for the rifle expired in 1977. Colt still owns the trademark AR-15, and they are the exclusive owner and user of that rifle designation. However, when the patent expired, everybody and their dog started to make parts for the rifle, because it's basically interchangeable, because it had a mil-spec build system. So literally anyone that could read military blueprints can start making parts for this thing, and it goes together like Lego. A few generalities with the AR-15 is they are generally considered to be a light, semi-automatic rifle chambered in an intermediate caliber, as opposed to like battle rifle calibers, like .308 Winchester, 7.62x5.1 NATO. All of your European army rounds during World War II, .303 British, literally anything the Germans invented. All of your battle rifle calibers. The .223 Remington later became .5.56 NATO ammunition, which is what all the ARs are chambered in now for the most part. And Stoner's original prototypes are actually scaled down AR-10s, which are also available now and chambered commonly in .308 Winchester, 7.62x5.1 NATO. This has been a brief history of AR-15s. This is the thing that we're going to have some tism about for the next, say, 90 minutes or so.
How many do you have?
Somebody want to?
What are your favorite?
Well, we can start off by saying that Eugene Stoner did market it as a hunting rifle, despite what some people may tell you nowadays. It was marketed
Varmint
as
rifle?
with varmint rifle with just a fast follow-up shot is all it was meant to be. And it's actually the original powder for it was IMR 3031. The original bullet weight was supposed to be 55 grain, and of course they're supposed to have a rifle length gas system. So anything beyond that started tinkering with the mechanisms, and I guess the twist rate changed quite a bit too now in the interim. But so the original reliability problems they had, like when they sold the M16 to Vietnam, was because they started tinkering with bullet weight, gas systems, the fact they didn't think they needed to clean it and everything else. So the original, I guess, what would you call it, reputation of being unreliable was kind of unfounded. If he stuck to his original design, it was much better, right?
And they got rid of it very quickly, I believe, too. Like the failures and whatnot. Yeah,
they sorted it out, but because they started going too far off his original design. And I think, wasn't it the AR-7 that was the survival rifle? Because they still make that with Henry, right? The AR-7?
The AR-5 was adopted by the U.S. Air Force. I know the AR-7 is also a .22 caliber survival rifle.
Yeah, just one, and then they made some upgrades, but they were significant enough that it needed a different model designation.
Yeah, because I knew it was a Stoner design, because I used to own one, but it's an interesting thing.
Well, I mean, between like Stoner and Browning, and that's pretty much the two biggest ones. I mean,
what if those guys ever met? Like, 'cause there would have been some overlap there, maybe. Browning died in what, 20? No, I guess he was too young then.
Would have been too young, but towards the end of his life, Stoner did have the opportunity to meet Mikhail Kalashnikov.
There's a picture of them holding each other's rifle.
Yeah, apparently they had a great time. They went to a gun range. They went to the NRA museum. They walked around D.C.
Yeah, no, that would have a great time. I bet that would have been a party and a half hanging with those two guys.
Well, one guy got loaded, basically, from a money perspective, because of his design patent. The other guy almost died broke because he designed for the state, and that was it. And he never got any royalties.
But he was a good
Yeah.
communist.
But he was a good communist.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is such a thing.
And he got it
If there was a good communist, it would be Mikhail Kalashnikov.
because he's now dead.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Okay, we can go with that, sure.
No, it's very interesting the fact that I think he made more money off putting his name to the vodka than he did actually making off the rifle, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. How many millions of AK-47s were made? But enough about the AK.
Well, he made tanks and all kinds of other stuff too. But yeah,
I,
when we
I
get up
do,
to our
I do think that there's a lot of that.
762nd episode, we'll talk all about the AK.
That's right.
I think a lot of that reliability stuff that Ian brought out did get sorted out early in the Vietnam conflict, and I think a lot of this was rushed to market. And from what I understand, a lot of the issues the Marine Corps had with the rifle was chalked up to ammunition problems, not necessarily problems in terms of like the selection of ammunition, but the quality control at the ammunition loading plant. So they had a lot of stoppages and failures due to poor QC processes on their ammo.
Well, they're also told it was self-cleaning too.
Which, I mean, is technically true.
It shits where it eats, though. Really, I mean.
Right, that's the thing. The whole gas system piece. It's kind of self-cleaning.
I mean, it is rifle length, so it is the least dirty of all the lengths, as far as the gas systems are concerned.
Well, no, but it's more the direct impingement system being compared to like any other military rifle up to that point, even other semi-automatic rifles like the M1 Garand. They don't, or the M14, which I mean was briefly used by the military between the M1 and the M16, right?
For one war in Korea.
Yeah, well, was it even really heavily used in Korea? But beside the point, the AR-10 should have won that battle and should have been designated as the rifle of choice rather than the M14, which I think was the shortest-lived rifle that the Americans fielded for their military.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's held both records, the shortest and the longest, because after they parked it, they brought it back for a designated sniper rifle later on here, more recently in Afghanistan and a couple other places. So after a big hiatus, they brought it back. So
yeah, some of the special forces guys had bedded them into updated chassis, and they're not a good rifle though. I mean, I've seen lots of testing on them. They're not good rifles.
Yeah, if I had the choice, it'd be an AR-10.
Yeah.
I'd take an AR-10. The AR-10 should have run, but the AR-15 is basically an AR-10, just scaled down.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, 30% smaller, just like the cartridge.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I do think they worked out a lot of those, although the AR does seem to get a bad rap on the internet in the gun community, especially amongst the boomers, the FUDs that don't think you need one of those fully automatic machine guns to go hunting with.
A scary black rifle.
Because they had one in Vietnam and it jammed on them, or their buddy had one in Vietnam and it jammed on them.
well, also of course you're supposed to run the AR a little more wet, for lack of a better term, with the lubrication versus the AK, which can pretty much be filled with mud and theoretically still run. I think there's just that reputation assigned to it, and people just like to parrot stuff that they hear.
I think that's a big part of it. I have not seen those reliability issues with ARs, but I think part of this is also like you have to remember the differences in metallurgy between like 1955 and today, and the differences in I'm going to just call it plastics. All of the polymer technologies, all of the like, is like
machine tolerances and everything as well, right? Like everything.
But the AR also has so many plastic parts on it, and at the time, plastic was not like injection molding technology is not the way that it is today.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a lot of other things that they're like trying to figure out, and they're also fielding it in an environment that it is not well suited for because it does not do well in humid, jungly, wet, sandy environments because all the crap gets into the working parts.
Mm.
Not an ideal situation to field it, but I think that for the most part they've got all the kinks worked out at this point. It's only been 50 years.
I mean, they're pretty flawless now once you get them going.
Well, I think that's the thing is that once you get one to run, and it does not take much to get one to run because they come from the factory and they work as long as you don't fiddle with them for the most part.
Yeah, that's when you get problems. Yeah,
better or not than the other, but in general, when they come out of the factory, they work.
Yeah.
And one of the other advantages from how it was in the middle to, early to middle 60s when they were starting to be fielded to today is that everything is modular now because you can fit it to the user. You're not just stuck with your A1 or A2 style stock and pistol grip. So you have collapsible stocks, and you have adjustable grips, and you have different handguards, and you can put your lights and laser beams and all of your other accessories.
Yeah, although,
it.
there's been a few, missteps with all of that stuff. Like, the fact that key mod even exists is a huge, disgusting blemish on the face of the AR.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that key mod is terrible and shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the acid wash jeans of the AR world.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's just like
I don't even know what they were thinking.
Use key mod. That's the just use M-Lock. It's good.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how Remington could put out a Model 700 with Magpul written right in the name of the model and then still use some sort of hybrid key mod thing on their forend.
Yeah, well, can't fix everybody.
Remington gonna
Can
run
try. Things that we can't fix. Somebody want to take a crack at Canadian gun laws as they relate to the AR-15?
Yeah, I'll handle this one, Andrew. They're stupid.
Well done. Good summary.
No, I guess.
So AR-15 is completely illegal in Canada. Can't have them. Definitely prohibited. That's a complete no-no. Go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
No, we can own them as long as you have a restricted class license. Although they were almost prohibited back when they did the big gun thing a while ago because they're dangerous, evil black guns. But luckily, the service rifle shooting associations across the country had enough participants to basically get that change. So going from prohib to restricted. So you can own them, but you can only shoot them at a gun range. Then you got to do all of the other ridiculous things that you have to do with restricteds, with your magical pieces of paper and all that fun stuff.
Trigger locks that make them safer than a normal gun.
Yeah,
because,
double
more
lock.
dangerous.
But the nice thing is, if one of the very few things that we have on the States is the fact that we're not limited to a 16-inch barrel without going an extra step. So we can go right down to an 8.5-inch barrel without sort of a tax stamp or any sort of an SBR designation. So it's restricted no matter what length the barrel is. So it's shitty, but could be worse.
Can I have a suppressor?
Tax stamp again. So that'd be hearing protection would be great, but no, not allowed.
So no suppressor. Can I have it full auto?
Well, the funny thing is, you mentioned that OIC thing, but full autos weren't they banned in 34 or something originally, or was the easily convertible ones? Are you talking?
No, so full autos were not banned in 34. Right, and then converted autos were banned in 77.
Yeah.
Right, so you
if you're
can't own
fortunate
machine guns in Canada.
If you're fortunate to be old enough and have your prohib or own a business that deals in those things, then yes, you can have a full auto and a suppressor. But otherwise, us ordinary citizens are SOL.
So I'm not going out and buying a full auto, short-barreled, suppressed machine gun? That's what
impossible.
You're saying?
No triple stamp for you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're going to get your full Python before you get that.
And I can definitely use an AR-15 to hunt.
No.
Neighbor targets at the range.
No. Not actual AR-15s.
Not anymore.
Only some AR similar style kind of rifles that happen to be semi-automatic and look somewhat similar, but have different characteristics from basic original design.
Or the AR-10 because it's 5 ARs less dangerous.
That's true.
Yes, you can hunt with an AR-10. It's much safer.
Yeah.
5 times safer. But to put it simply though, it's basically restricted by name. There's no actual reason why this rifle over any other rifle. Yeah.
It's
black, scary,
semi-automatic rifle, and it's black.
And everybody in Parliament thinks that the ARs. Yeah, and everybody that is in Parliament thinks the AR stands for assault rifle because that just makes sense.
That's what they
Yeah,
wanted to
or-
stand
Yeah,
for.
that makes way more sense than Armalite rifle, who helped
Yeah.
design it. Which I guess, I mean, Stoner is kind of like Kalashnikov, except that he didn't work for the state; he worked for private industry. So, like
Yeah.
in Soviet Russia, you make rifle for government. In capitalist America, you make rifle for private entity.
Which is weird, though, that like they put his name on the one that's for the state, but then the private one was like, "Nah, we're just going to slap our name on that."
You don't own it; the company owns it.
That's right. Is it intellectual property? The company owns it. I mean, Stoner
Although-
did go on to build a bunch of other cool guns, and some of them are named Stoner, like the Stoner 63.
So I guess Knight's Armament calls theirs the SR in honor of him, the Stoner Rifle 15.
Or the
Well,
SR,
I mean, he
SR-25,
did end
so-
up. Stoner, at the end of his working career, did end up working for Knight's Armament Company, the
Yeah.
like big black cack in the room.
Yeah.
And I think he got it. Was it $1 per rifle royalty or something like that? It was.
Something like this.
Yeah, so it worked out into the millions for him. So that was pretty good.
Dollar.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on the topic of numbers, there's roughly 2 million ARs in Canada.
Those are rookie numbers.
2 million or 200,000?
Is it? Oh, you're right. It's 200,000. It's 200,000
Even at
ARs
2
in
million,
Canada.
that's rookie numbers.
Yes.
There's 8 million of them in the U.S. They are incredibly popular rifles.
Mm.
Some
I mean,
people believe the
I
AR
own a
stands for
bunch.
America's rifle.
I mean, all right, that settles it. Ragnarok Tactical will start producing AR-15s, but we're going to spell it EHR,
Sweet.
and it'll be Canada's rifle.
And then we can make a special pirate edition. It'll be the AR-15.
Yeah, we'll just engrave R's all the way down the receiver.
Yeah, small R's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of getting one in Canada, if you have a restricted firearms license, if you can legally buy a handgun in this country, so you've taken a weekend course, passed a background check, and waited sufficient amount of time for the government to process your application and take your money, you can go and buy an AR, I guess.
And you should.
Well, I think you should. I mean, you've heard the intro, right? If you don't own an AR-15, you're wrong. Fix yourself. 'Cause, I mean,
If
like,
you don't own at least more than one AR-15, you should really fix yourself.
well, and that's kind of like part of the fun with ARs in my mind, and I think the big part of what the show is going to end up being is like what you can do with them is only limited by your imagination and what your wife will let you spend.
Exactly. There's one for everything. They're multi-rolled, and you don't have to get complete rifles, and that's the wonderful thing about it too, right? You can just buy uppers with one lower and just keep swapping them out.
Yeah, and I mean, the best part is if you promise not to buy any more guns, as long as you don't buy the lower, you haven't bought a gun.
Exactly.
Switch uppers.
So I
Yeah.
guess that is an important distinction. When we're talking about the AR-15, what part does the government consider to be the firearm?
The lower receiver with the serial number on it.
Yeah.
That's right. You can't handle a gun on the YouTube, Gavin. Don't even think about it.
Or a gun part. Just say
What about just a giant chunk of aluminum?
if it's a 0% receiver, sure.
Yes,
I'd say
0%
it's more like
receivers are
a
good.
60% receiver.
Let's not, because I don't want to get kicked off the YouTube today. But yeah, the lower receiver is the serialized part. It is the firearm. It is considered a frame or a receiver, and it's the part that the government cares about. And it's the only part that you need a license to purchase, and you have to treat it like a gun, whether it's assembled or just a piece of aluminum with a bunch of holes in it. Because our gun laws are stupid.
Which may include putting a cable lock through the trigger hole, even if it's completely disassembled, in order to make somebody
Especially
happy.
if it's completely disassembled, because we definitely all follow the rules, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Of course.
As long as it's not capable
Yeah.
of being fired, thanks to that little strip of zip tie or cable lock or whatever.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
now, might just want to kind of throw that in there from our great friends at Matador. You can also turn them into PCCs now as well, with a small little block that goes into your mag well. And then obviously
Yeah,
again
I
another
mean-
upper.
You can get away with a lot with them. Put put in a magazine adapter and run your pistol caliber carbine using pistol mags. You can chamber it in a bunch of different calibers, all kinds of. So many calibers can be run. Did you know that they make a 50 BMG upper for an AR? It's a single shot, but they make one.
Yeah. How does it even fit in the breech?
It doesn't.
Like loads in the back.
Yeah, it's like a Barrett upper that fits on your lower because all it uses is the fire control to hit.
Yeah, it's a hammer.
Fire pin, right?
Yeah.
So. And none of that lower takes any of the the stress. So yeah, it's basically like a single shot 50 cal sniper rifle with a AR lower.
And the bolt just slides back into the buffer tube. That's all.
Yeah.
But you can also make that non-restricted too. If you take it to ATRS, they can still mod it out to make your receiver permanently non-restricted, or they can make one for it. That's what it is. They get you a non-restricted lower receiver for it. So.
It's almost like the gun laws are completely ineffective, and we'll find ways to get around them.
Yeah. Well,
we're not even criminals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we're not the guys that are supposed to be worried about. But...
We're law-abiding as fuck.
Yeah.
Well,
ish.
It's not a loophole. We're complying exactly the way that it was written.
To the letter of the law.
Compliance is not skirting the law.
Yeah.
That's right. We're very compliant. The fact that the law is poorly written is not our problem. We're just very compliant.
Not doing something or doing something that is against the law isn't breaking the law.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've touched on a couple of the things. I want to kind of get into the caliber. If you, I mean, obviously 223, that is the caliber of choice for your AR, although most of them are proofed for 5.56, and there's interoperability between those two calibers with very little oversight. Don't
5.56.
Don't load 5.56 in a rifle stamp 223, but
don't load 223 in 5.56. It's worse going that way.
Yeah. No.
For
accuracy? No, not for accuracy. Just the shoulder. Like the 223 will get stuck in the 5.56 barrel.
No.
I think so.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Other way around.
The 223 is almost always a wild barrel, right?
No. Wild barrel.
223 wild is separate from 223 Remington.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I understand that.
This is where we get into the TISM.
Yeah.
5.56 is loaded hotter than 223. The exterior dimensions are mechanically similar enough that it doesn't matter. The 5.56 is loaded hotter at a higher pressure. Don't load 5.56 into a 223 barrel. It is unsafe. Shoot 223 in a 5.56 barrel all day with likely decreased accuracy, which is why the 223 wild barrel exists. 223 wild will handle the pressure of a 5.56 round, but more accurately fire 223 Remington cartridges.
Yeah, and you
have the same allegedly.
Yeah, you have the same problem with 308 and 7.62 NATO.
But in the opposite way. Like 308 Winchester's more capable of handling a higher pressure than 7.62.
Yeah.
But anyways, just to confuse it even more, the SAMI spec for 223 is fixed in time, right? Like once they establish that SAMI spec for 223, it can't change. Whereas the 5.56 designation is subject to the military's whim, and whatever they choose to make 5.56 during the current year, because it's the current year, that's it. That's
current year plus 4 now.
Yeah.
Plus 5.
So I mean, you really can't, like I say, like it's subject to change at any given time. So.
So I guess historically, like 223, 223 Remington was adopted by SAMI in 1962. Whereas 5.56 NATO wasn't adopted until the late 70s, like 78 or something.
Yeah, and it's been changed a couple times, right?
Yeah. So be careful with your 223 5.56 chamberings. But aside from the traditional 223 type caliber, do you guys have a favorite or least favorite chambering that you've seen in an AR?
I've heard. I have not experienced with it, but from what I read, a lot of guys like the 6.5 Grendel for hunting.
I watched Mark Morelli from Canadian Gun Vault fire that 458 SOCOM on an AR platform, and the poor guy looks like he's just punishing himself. It's like, it's a great idea, and I think it's kind of cool. But it looks like you're basically it's like a higher level of masochism.
Exactly. I mean, like there's some cool thing like the 50 Beowulf and all of that stuff, like where it's like, okay, this is cool to see how much we can push that small white frame. But yeah, like it's not practical by any means. Like unless you're going hog hunting and you've got like a massive one and you just want to decimate it, then sure.
I have a massive one. Don't you worry.
You're still looking at that python photo, aren't you?
Yeah,
I am.
But it's true though. I mean, it's like why at that point the whole idea this rifle should be light, maneuverable, fairly accurate, and high magazine capacity. Then all of a sudden you change it to a round that's like screw you, screw the next guy behind you, and screw my shoulder. Yeah. That's not what it was designed for, right? Like if you want to do that, go up to the 308 version, like go to an AR-10. Yeah. But no, I think the 223 is just fine the way it is.
You could be strange like Trevor and chamber your AR in some weird obscure caliber that only he likes.
At 7.62, what's it? Fight
39 or 41 or something like that.
Yeah,
41 TS or some shit.
Yeah,
I looked at that one. I just with that the juice wasn't worth it wasn't worth the squeeze at all on that one.
Yeah. And there's some other, like, you can get them in 7.62 by 39 and all kinds of other weird things like that. I mean, I know, for certain things, I mean, like the guy that got arrested not too long ago with the full auto pistol AR, which was really just a Mossberg Blinkster in a plastic frame. So, I mean, you can get some 22 conversion kits or whatever for your AR, and they're fun-ish when they work, which is almost never.
Now, what about the 300 Blackout? Like, I know they designed that for like suppressed rifles, but like, did they actually adopt that round, or is it just?
No one, as far as I know, no one has officially adopted 300 Blackout as a service round for an AR-15 platform rifle. I am super, super aroused by the thought of having a 300 Blackout rifle. I didn't realize like the idea is that you're supposed to be able to suppress it and get similar ballistics to an AK round, a 7.62 by 39. But unsuppressed, supersonic, I would still be okay with that because punching 30 caliber holes in paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still having it
just gotta break
like a nice
line,
light package, but without, stepping up to like a 308, right? Like you're.
Well, I think more for some of the games that we play with guns, like for some of the types of shooting that we do, you just got to break the line, and the point goes to the shooter, right?
Yeah,
so
it gives
a 30
you a little
caliber
bit more
round is bigger than a 22 caliber round. Right? Like that's 0.08 bigger.
For those fours and the fives, that's what we're doing.
And if you're using major and minor, would that fall into major or minor, being 300 black?
I don't know.
I think it depends on how hot you load it. I think you could probably run it supersonic. You could probably run it hot enough to make major.
Probably.
But I mean, I would kind of like a 300 Blackout just to have a 300 Blackout because it is the only thing that I have to change is the barrel. So it's not like 6.5 Grendel where you have to stick with the barrel and the bolt carrier and the bolt and the mag and the
buffer.
And it's not like 7.62 where you have to like 7.62 by 39. You need a different bolt and a different magazine and a different barrel. Like there's a lot of pieces to dick with.
Yeah. The 300
Blackout.
So does 300 Blackout fit in the same mag?
Yep.
300 Blackout has the same external geometry as 223. The only difference is the projectile on the shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just need to change out the barrel. That's it.
You just change out the barrel.
Yeah,
it's just a necked up 223.
Yeah. I think they shrink them slightly too, don't they?
Like it's a slightly shorter case, but I mean, like you just chop off part of
caliber,
Yeah. You just chop off the shoulder off of a 223 case
and then
resize it for
30 cal. Yeah.
For 30 cal, yeah. It's
sweet.
300 Blackout is appealing to me.
Yeah. As a bolt gun too, for reasons.
For very quiet reasons.
Yeah.
Sounds like it would be if it's a 30 cal bullet, it'd be a good hunting round as well. Then.
It is actually.
I think 300 Blackout would make a great hunting round because I mean, there's a lot of variety with 300 with 30 caliber bullets. So I mean, like. You launch a good 145 or 150 grain penetrating round into a hog. Like theoretically, you were in a place where that was legal to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I mean, if you get one of these new ARs that aren't ARs with an 18.6-inch barrel chambered in 300 black. That would be a great hunting rifle. I mean, not that like, you know, a decent weight 5.56 isn't also a great gun for depending on what you're shooting, obviously. But.
Well, because not every province has a caliber restriction like we don't here. You could technically take, I mean, the deer here are the size of a Rottweiler. So if you really want to, you could take a 5.56 hunting here if it's not restricted. Yeah, I've seen guys take down all sorts of things with an AR-15 style non-restricted rifle.
Yeah, I think as long as you're doing it ethically, that's the big thing. The 300 blackout for the technical advantage that it provides you. I mean, we don't have the ability to suppress it or do any of the other cool things, but just to have a 30 caliber bullet with no other changes and to be able to shoot it like it's a 223 and have all of the manageable recoil and low sound and low concussive force and flash and everything else, and just be able to put a 30 caliber hole in a piece of paper, I see some appeal there.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want a 300 black upper for my AR.
I also see a lot of appeal with pistol caliber carbines, whether that's an actual AR or whether that's an AR style.
Yeah, like an FX9 that's
like
not
an
an
FX9
AR, but it
or
is.
like the Matador kits that change your like you insert a mag block into your magazine well to accept other types of magazines.
And
like
now I can use my 320 mags. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's getting popular in the Ipsic crowd, so it would be fun to just.
I see a lot of appeal with that. 9 is cheap to shoot. There's effectively no recoil with it in a rifle platform because it's heavy enough to soak that all up. Like there's very little felt recoil.
So I mean, if I had to pick between like a 9mm AR or a 22 AR for something that you can shoot that's still pretty inexpensive, I would go with the 9mm over the 22 because like. I mean, 22 is fun and it's great for plinking, and we know we all get autistic about our 22s, so like not shitting on the cartridge. But when it comes to like an AR type rifle, whether it's an actual AR or something that looks and feels like it, you kind of want to feel like you're shooting something. And that 9 still has enough of a kick to make it feel like.
So what you're saying is we should chamber it in 10mm?
Yes.
But even like
that's one bigger.
Like the brass prep alone.
I'd do it.
I mean, the brass prep for 9mm versus 223. If you're gonna do like high volume and it's like less than 100 yards, why not you shoot 9? Because I mean, your brass prep is like almost zero comparatively, right?
Well, you do it all in one go on and progressive. You don't even have to like stop in the middle to clean again.
I know they're even starting to do 3-gun competitions where you can rock your AR for like the 500-yard shots at steel and have your PCC on you for the close-in targets, and then switch to your shotgun like instead of pistol. So it's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I could see some fun with that to be had.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other. The only other caliber really that I have any interest in and is not a caliber that is of any value to me right now is 224 Valkyrie.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be the new PRS load, and it just kind of fizzled.
Yeah, I don't know much about that one. What was that all about?
Well, it's just high velocity, right?
And it's a slightly larger, heavier projectile, so it's supposed to be a little bit better at longer ranges. So I could see for applications where you're using it as like a designated marksman style rifle or a service rifle, match rifle for like the type of service rifle that we do here in Canada. I could see some advantages to that, but it's not going to be approved for like where Dave and I shoot on military ranges. It's never going to be on the approved caliber list, so I'm not going to be allowed to shoot it on the ranges where we shoot service rifle.
Yeah,
it's basically if you know you're going to, because a lot of PRS competitions it'd be about 1,000 yards is the max, so 1,000 yards in for that caliber is very advantageous. Basically, you don't have to do wind calls because it's such a fast bullet. We're talking like 3,000 plus feet per second.
Yeah, I think they were seeing factory loads around 3,200 feet out of a 20-inch barrel.
Yeah, something like that, exactly.
Part of the problem with some of these more boutique-y style calibers, like, I mean, that I would still say that 300 black sort of falls into that. Like,
oh, definitely. 300 black.
Like,
that's what started my whole question, right? Like, is anybody using it?
Right? Like, so, I mean, 300 black, you can get factory 300 black now. But it's all high-end stuff. So, like, there's no, like, once American Eagle adopts that caliber and brings the cost down, then like some of these more boutique type calibers will be readily available in places, and they'll be more attractive for people to kind of experiment with them. But like 224 Valkyrie, I think, is one of the ones where it's like it really isn't something that is produced factory wise at all. I don't think. If it is, it's very, very limited.
Well, and the fact that you have to make your own
Makes it
brass.
like,
Yeah, if you have to make your own brass,
Yeah.
nobody's going to want to get into it. Like, half the guys won't anyway.
Yeah.
At least-
even the guys that, one, you have to be into reloading, and then two, you have to be into like not just running it through your
Autism
press, but,
reloading.
like, like actually trimming it down, and not just like scraping off a couple of millimeters or whatever, but like really trimming it and reforming it and everything. And that's like that's a whole other level of
Autism.
Autism.
So I mean, I guess for reference, the 224 Valkyrie is reasonably available even in Canada as a factory product from Federal. Although I have not seen it for cheap. But it also seems to be predominantly in hunting loads for some reason, which I don't really understand, because like why I would want that with like a...
It's over the minimum, right? Because you can't have 22. So I don't know, 224 maybe goes over that minimum limit.
I mean, maybe, but really, do I want to pay like $40 or $50 a box, whatever it is, for Barnes Triple Shock? Like,
You'd be surprised. Most hunting bullets do go for that, though. Like the good stuff.
I know, but like that's what I mean. Like, it's a hunting bullet. It's not a match bullet. Like, yeah, they have loadings for like Total Metal Jacket, and like there's a load with Sierra Match King. But again, I'm not paying $50 a box for 20 rounds of rifle ammunition.
I know the PRS crowd pretty much all went to the 6mm. It's
but that's also part of the deal, right? So like if you start getting into PRS and you want to do that, like you can't really use an AR to do that in Canada, so they're going to go to bolt style guns, or other non-restricted semi-auto guns that are halfway decent. So you start getting into that whole thing. In the States, it may be more viable for PRS matches because they don't have the weird gun laws that we do. Yeah,
no, they have their own variety of weird gun laws by state.
Yeah. But if you're going to get a bolt gun, then you may as well just go with like a 308 or a 6.5 or some other, weird 6 mil-ish caliber of some sort, or a 40 caliber. If you want to go with like a Shy-Tac, because you've got like all that money to spend.
I 4.58 Shy-Tac is another one of those calibers that like I don't see a practical application for.
I mean 408? The 408 J-Tac?
408 J-Tac.
Yeah, there's a 375 and a 408. It has a niche use. They use it in ELR competitions, so extreme long range.
Apparently,
your closest shot is 1400, and it goes up.
Yeah, but why would I chamber an AR in that? That sounds ridiculous.
Oh, an AR, you can't chamber an AR. Yeah. That's just ridiculous. No, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's the problem.
No, but I mean, like it'll fit. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah.
You can chamber an AR in 408 Shy-Tac. I just don't think it's like doing it in 50 BMG.
Yeah.
You could. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah. It'd be super dumb. But I appreciate what some people do with coming up with these weird things, because I'm all like, it's same with like that double barrel AR that like, great, as the guy that like wants to design cool shit, you got to push the bounds, and sometimes you make something that shouldn't, but it's all a learning process, right? Or it's I did this to prove that I could do it. I never meant for it to be a thing that people could actually buy.
It's like double guitars. Same idea with the two arms on the guitar, and the Mateba came up with that double-barreled, a 45 and an AR.
Yeah.
I feel like that was as much of a marketing gimmick as anything else.
Well, yeah, but then like people see it and they go, "Oh, I have to have that," and then
or at least it gets the manufacturer's name up in the headlines, because they Which did you hear Mateba Arms before they came up with something like that? No. But
I have to look this up. The Albertan on YouTube suggests 25-45 sharps, and I really hope you can't chamber an AR in this, because it sounds
awfully.
I have an idea what a 45 sharps is. I'm about to look up what a 25 45 sharps is, and I'm about to be angry, I imagine.
It's a hunting round. I know that. It's meant to circumvent the whole 2.3 caliber restriction.
And it's probably meant to be shot from some sort of octagonal barreled flintlock rifle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm actually not nearly as angry about this as I thought I would be. It was designed in 2003, and it's based on the 223 cartridge. I'm not nearly as angry about this as I was expecting it to be, because I was like, wait, somebody put like a 45 government, necked that shit down to 25 caliber, and then stuck it in an AR. What? No, it's not like that at all.
That's the Beowulf is what they do with that. So
yeah,
I was about to be a lot angrier than I really should have been. Yeah, okay. So this is a 6mm round to get around hunting regulations for smaller, or I guess, what would you call that? Mid-sized game, deer, antelope, hogs, coyotes?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, it's not big game. But
It's not
small
big
game.
Yeah, it's not small game. It's just game.
Like,
bigger
antelopes and coyotes are smaller than your average deer is.
Yeah, like it's not elk moose big game. It's just
Game.
game.
Yeah.
Mid-size.
Mid game.
It's like one of those SUVs that's it's the same class as
Crossover.
a Ford Fusion, but it's like it's not really an SUV, but they still market. Yeah, crossover. That's it.
Crossover. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a crossover.
But honestly, like it boils down to like procuring brass, where they have to pay for it or just pick it up at the range or whatever. You start getting these boutique calibers, like the juice is worth the squeeze, man. Like it's
that's one
not
of the
worth
things
it.
I really like with 223 is I can do a lot with 223 as a caliber, as a reloader.
Yeah.
Okay, I can put a 40
Lots of
caliber small game
information.
bullet in it, right? Like I can throw a light bullet really fast at a squirrel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or I can throw a heavier bullet a little bit slower, like a big 70 or 80 grain pill at a deer. And it probably is not great for like the deer in my area, but I don't hunt deer and I don't care. But like Ian's deer he describes as being the size of a Rottweiler, I feel like a heavy, like an 80 or a 90 grain 223 would be quite effective.
Like honestly, I used a 308 on a deer a couple of years ago, and it was just like, this is way too much bullet for this deer. It was crazy. So,
even around here, I mean, if you're a decent shot and you get it with a good like heavyweight, soft tip, hunting
expanding
round.
bullet. Yeah.
I mean, that 223 or 5.56, you load it hot, you've got a nice heavy round, would be plenty strong to take out a deer pretty much anywhere, in my opinion.
the Alberta does mention it is the fuddliest obscure AR cartridge you can get. I'm like, I would agree, because I hadn't heard of it until tonight. So
it literally is a Sharps round. I didn't know the Sharps Rifle Company was still making rifles in 2012, but here they are.
Just think of like you would like calm down a lot of these guys and say you don't need black rifles. Just say it's a Sharps cartridge. They'd be like, oh, ooh, hey, let me try that. Maybe I do like black rifles.
Yeah. Great grandpappy.
Can I put it in my buffalo gun?
That's right. It's a way to bridge the gap between the FUDs and the operator types.
Yeah.
No, okay, maybe. I think there is a lot to be said for the 223 cartridge as a cartridge. It is a versatile.
It's very versatile. Absolutely, I agree.
Even if it was marketed as a poodle shooter and that it wasn't a man stopper, and the military made a mistake by bringing it up and calling it the 5.56 NATO round, I think that there was a lot of internet myths around how that all happened.
But, I think we talked about this. That was on a different show over there. But we talked about like carrying weight. I mean, up a hill. Like if you're carrying 7.62 by 39 and you're some Russian conscript, and you got your stamped steel AR or AK, should I say, and you're humping around the woods of West Germany, versus some American guy who's in decent shape carrying around like 223 rounds that weigh about 30% less at least. Who do you think is gonna like have more endurance, stamina, and be a better shot when he finishes that 10-mile hike or whatever?
What would you rather carry? 10 mags of because 300 rounds of 223 or 300 rounds of AK-47. You're not going to be able to carry that much. You're just not. There's just not enough room in your pack for that many rounds.
Imagine the difference between your American GI in World War II or Korea and then your American GI in Vietnam, right? Like, okay, so you have an M1 Garand that weighs what, like 12 pounds, 14 pounds?
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
And 8-round on-block clips with 30-06. and you have what do you have? You have 10 of those. You have 80 rounds on you.
Yeah.
And okay,
which are-
now
You get into
now
one
you're not.
firefight.
Yeah, try reloading that under like nice, calm, stable range conditions. Now have people shooting at you. You are smashing the shit out of your thumb on that M1 terrain.
Well, and then to go to the American GI in Vietnam, and now you're okay. You have an 8-pound AR-15. It's 30% lighter than your M1, and you have 10 mags, 300 rounds of 5.56, and it's the same weight.
Yeah.
Well, and not to mention winter in Germany versus Vietnam jungle summer. Like, which one would you rather carry around?
Yeah.
Like, once
I'll take.
You're not
I'll
gonna be in the
take
mood to
my
carry around a
plastic
heavy
Mattel
rifle.
gun. Thank
you
you.
maybe don't mind the M1 when you're walking around the woods in winter and like you don't mind working up a sweat or just like burning the stock to keep warm. But yeah, if I'm sweating my nuts off in like the jungles with Willem Dafoe, like I definitely want a lighter rifle.
But that's part of the thing is like, I mean, after World War II into Korea, they not just the Americans, but like everyone went to intermediate cartridges from like proper battle rifle cartridges.
And I think that also kind of has to do with the change in mentality of what happens on a battlefield when you kill someone versus wound them severely.
Well, not only
It's
that,
like
but
when you kill a guy, you take a guy out of the fight. When you wound one, someone runs to his aid, so you take 2 guys out of the fight.
well, you guys are carrying them off the battlefield. Also, the fact is that you're going from accurate single shot fire to volley fire, and you got like 10 conscripts or 10 draftees from rural America.
Fire and movement, right? They change the tactics. You're going from suppressive fire movement to flank your enemy. That requires more rounds, so you need a lighter round, right?
And more of them.
Yeah. Lighter rounds so you can carry more. Should we get into some?
I'm very much a fan of the. Well, I think we should get into the bills, but I am very much a fan of the .223 caliber as a rifle caliber because it is cheap and easy to reload. Relatively speaking, it is a cheap rifle round.
And fairly versatile.
It is a versatile round. It's not a do everything round, but it is a do a lot of things round. And it is accurate in most platforms, semi-automatic or some type of manual action. Well, I guess really, it's really bolt because you're not really chambering ARs in like lever guns, but I guess they have the pump ARs, the MP ARs.
Yeah.
But even resizing, I would rather resize 223 to 308. It requires less lube. It's easier to do. It's easier on the brass. I mean, it's certainly a more versatile cartridge if you're going to have like a high volume shooting season.
Yeah. I'd much rather, and I mean, as somebody who reloads a lot of 223, like 5-ish gallons of 223 a year, because that's right. I measure my brass by the gallon now. I don't actually count the pieces anymore. I don't know what 5 gallons of brass is. 4,000, 5,000 rounds. Right?
Yeah, about 4,000, I think.
Yeah, it has to be.
Somewhere around there. So like, I mean, I go through 5-ish thousand rounds a year, give or take. I'm quite happy reloading all the 223 because it's like it's a boatload of work and it's a lot of 223. But man, I don't know if I could do 4,000 308. Like that would take rounds, me forever to do that in 308 or to do it in 30.6 for $1,000. Like,
but can you imagine if you had to turn all that 223 into 300 black?
Mm-hmm.
I would literally just buy a mill to do that for me. It is not a.
Or get a whole black sheep brass or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pay somebody with the appropriate equipment to chop that and resize it because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You guys are going to talk about builds or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should continue on the TISM train and talk about builds. So, I guess Ian didn't make show notes. Ian, do you own an AR-15?
I may or may not own an AR-15. According to the government, I own one.
If you were to allegedly own an AR-15, what would you currently allegedly have in your possession?
Well, starting from tip to butt, so to speak, as Grantham would say, I would start with a Surefire Pro Comp, or a War Comp, actually, in that case, for the 223 one. So a War Comp at the tip. I would go with a Faxon barrel with the gunner profile. preferably an 18.6, but I may or may not have had to settle for a 20-inch. See here, a Made in Barrie, Ontario Maple Ridge Armory forend in M-Lock, nice and light. See here, working my way backwards, I got the extended mag release from Magpul. I skipped the bad lever. I don't know why I haven't got one yet. I guess I just I wasn't even sure if it was going to fit on what I may or may not have. Bought a specific receiver set, allegedly, to build it all on. See here, Magpul. See the Myad 1.1 handle.
Brand of receiver set?
ATRS Modern Sporter, allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly.
So it is an unrestricted AR type rifle.
Yeah, well, if I was ideally in an ideal world, allegedly going to have one. I do actually own an.
He's priced it all out. He hasn't pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah, I do have an AR that's sitting in the closet, completely stripped, just in case for grandfathering purposes. And my wife actually bought an AR off of one of the panelists on the show here in order to make sure that she's grandfathered in. But we try to keep our stuff non-restricted. So, anyways, moving back, I got a CTR stock. Let's see here. That's pretty much it. Oh, and optics right now, just Spark AR is what I'm using, just to good up to about 300 yards or so, and take it from there.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable kind of do-it-all build.
Yeah,
super light.
Build.
Super light. Yeah, I mean,
super light. What does that end up weighing out at? About 7 pounds?
Not even. If I was to buy a Stag 10, my Stag 10 would weigh in at less than 7 pounds 11 ounces without an optic. But the Modern Sporter is less than that. It's got to be just a tad over 6. Stop
All
it.
Right. The real Earl. I see.
Oh, and to answer Brent's question, how much does entry level, not all tricked out AR-15 cost? Up until about 2 months ago, you could get a PSA 1 through I Run Guns for what, $500?
Yeah, $600.
Or a North for less.
500 American. 500 American.
You're looking at like $650, $750.
Yeah, but you can get like a Norinco for somewhere in that ballpark.
I think they're like $600 as well. I think for a Norinco.
Yeah.
But
I'll get you on the range plinking.
Yeah, I would not get Norinco when I could get a PSA for the same cost. Not that PSA is that much better, but still made in North America.
That's what I put on my shorty build, allegedly.
I priced out some guns today for people that were going to get into this. So if you can find a store that has one in stock, a Norinco CQA M4 will cost you about $650 plus shipping and theft.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find a store in Toronto or the greater Toronto area that was allegedly having Norinco products in stock. And they may even be the kind of store that could translate the manual for you.
You could also get cheap ammo there, apparently.
I would actually recommend that you save a couple of bucks, wait a paycheck, and go and buy yourself a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 if you can afford the extra $200. Because for $850 you can get a Made in America rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would rather buy a Made in America rifle than a Made in China rifle, strictly for the fact of I have helped a lot of people zero a lot of ARs over the years, and sometimes you run out of windage on the Norincos. Oh, that's weird. We've dialed the sight all the way to the left, and we're still only on the edge of the paper. All right, I guess it was made on a Monday or a Friday.
And well, it's just like the old M14 clones. Like they're just you run out of windage before you know it, and it's horrible. But
so
you end up changing the parts anyway.
I'd wait a month or two, save a couple extra paychecks, and get a Smith & Wesson. Yeah. That's probably the budget rifle. AR. Yeah.
Well, even if you find a used like Gen 1 M&P Sport that doesn't have the dust cover or the forward assist, it's still a great entry level rifle that you could probably get for a really good price on the used market.
Yeah, I would look at that. Look at the used market. Look at the lower end, look at a Smith & Wesson or an Anderson. I hate to say that, but I mean, you are going to be under $700 if you can find one.
Yeah, I'd put them in the same with a PSA.
Yeah, get a PSA.
There's a lot better ones out there.
7-ish.
You know it's gonna work, and it's not gonna fall apart on you, and it'll be.
It's probably gonna work, and it's probably gonna be in spec. Unlike the Norinco, which it will work until something fails, and it probably is not in spec.
Yeah.
just like the Turkish AR buffer tubes that supposedly are threaded to mil spec, and yet you try and screw them off and they just fold. Like the entire aluminum just folds on you. The spec on the Norinco is just not there, right? Like for hardness level of the aluminum or the actual thread pitch or anything else, it might be whatever they decide to do that day, right?
Don't try and upgrade that thing. Just
shoot
it and have some fun, and then
have some fun.
Realize what you actually want and save up.
Well, the thing is, if you save up, you can actually get enough stuff to make a pocket AR shorter than an MP5 if you really work hard with it. Just spend the extra couple $100 to get a CCS stock, 7.5 inch, 8.5 inch barrel, and before you know it, you got a nice little tiny AR.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I mean, you want to do it on a budget, you can build your own with a very minimal amount of tools.
I question how much money you can actually save by building your own. Even if you bought all budget parts, if you bought it from suppliers that I won't name on the show that are relatively cheap, that probably use Chinese or Taiwanese products that may not have quality control.
Oh, I'll say it because I had trouble with them many times.
Okay.
TNA. Yeah, they're just horrible. Every experience I've had with them, it's anything I buy from them, it folds. Before you know it, it's full.
Well, and that's what I mean. I wouldn't be buying Chinese parts from True North Arms because I don't. I mean, that's not the person I am. That's not the business
reason why.
There's
a reason why it's $35 for that gas block, and every other gas block on every other site is at least $60. There's a reason.
Like the charging, I bought the butterfly charging handle. It lasted one charging, and the little hook failed on me. And
that's why you just got to keep the rifle loaded, Ian. If you just keep it loaded, it's fine.
That's right. When one's dry, you just leave the bolt back until you find a full mag, and then But honestly, it was crazy. I was like, "Are you serious?" The hook just failed on the first attempt, and he's, And when I told them, they're just like, "Yeah, that's nice."
Yeah,
but that was it. So
I mean, not to further kick a dead horse, but I've had some issues.
Since we're here.
Yeah.
Well,
since you got a kick out of it,
might as well fucking kick it.
Too.
Kicked a dead horse the other day.
If you give us enough money on the Patreon, we'll maybe let you in on our shit list of companies to not deal with. But for this particular one, I bought a lower parts kit to build an AR. And I bought a DPMS kit, so not super cheap, but not the most expensive. And anytime I'd ever bought a DPMS kit previously for other builds, it always came in a clamshell type, package with the backer, with the graphics and all of that, right? This came in a bag with a printed sheet with the logo on it. And parts were absolutely not to spec. So I was like, okay, this is weird. So I compared it to the other DPMS kits that I have. And none of the tool or bowl marks or anything on it matched up. So I was like, this is in no shape or form a DPMS kit, even though it says that it is. So, I mean, they took it back, no questions asked, and gave me my money. But that was not the kind of business experience that I would like to do again.
That is understandable. Let's hear from Dave. Dave, if you had or were to have an AR-15.
I mean,
would you care to describe it in excruciating detail?
In some excruciating detail, yeah. I did some 3-gun competitions down in the States, not last year, but the year before, and I was like, everybody seems to be rolling around with rifle length gas, low mass, awesomeness, and I was like, I need to get in on that. So I was like, let's put together a dream build. I'm single. I don't have any kids. I'm gonna. Money's not really an object
basically,
on this.
Dave is my spirit animal.
There's not really a money barrier on this. I went kind of all out pretty much on this, and so I bought a matching Ascend Armory receiver set with so that had proprietary ambi bolt release and what was it? Had flared magwell. So that was the building block, and then put a 18.6 MRA barrel on it with adjustable gas, and then put a 17-inch MRA handrail. Those handrails are pretty fantastic. They're some of the lightest handguards on the market, in my opinion. They look nice too. And then I put a Faxon low mass bolt carrier in it. So it's basically like you got your bolt. It's all skeletonized basically. It's only beefed up where it needs to be. And then behind that, put a JP Enterprises silent captured buffer system. So it's super quiet as well. Put a Matador Fury grip on it. And then Radian Raptor charging handle. I put a Trigger Tech trigger in it, of course. And then minimalist stock. And then some Strike Industries, some lipstick as my one friend likes to call it, because it's a black and red themed rifle, just like a ambi safety release, which comes in handy. Sometimes certain competitions they make you start offhand, and then I think I got everything up there. So, but yeah, it's super soft shooting, and then with the 18.6 on it, like I used it for service rifle last year as well. It shoots no problem out to 500 yards. With the right ammo.
So if it's super soft shooting, should you call it 10-ply?
You're 10-ply, bud.
Yeah, it takes offense.
But
it's solid. It's solid as fuck. I probably put the one season alone, that rifle, I must have put 5,000 rounds through it last year, and I, knock on wood, I did not have a single issue with that thing once I got it going. I did have a bit of an issue getting it going, but not going to really get into that. It's kind of.
But the problem is with something like that, Dave. Like, if you skimp on the bolt mass, do you not have to amp up the actual buffer to compensate for it? Like, is there not?
Well, that's why I want the JP Enterprises comes with 5 different springs to choose from, and then you also have adjustable gas to fine tune the gas as well. So it was a bit of a process because the gas having some gassing issues, and then getting it to cycle properly, and then once that was working, getting it tuned in. So it was a bit of a process getting it tuned in. Probably shot 200 rounds tuning that rifle, but once it was tuned and ready to go, that thing is just absolutely awesome for doing all those IPSC competitions, doing quick follow-up shots. I went from middle of the pack in 2017 to last year. I was consistently finishing top 5 in most of the IPSC rifle matches that I was in. 2 top 3s, top 4.
Do you suppose that's just because you advanced as a shooter, or is that an equipment advantage?
Column A and column B. I mean, yeah, obviously I was putting way more rounds downrange, so I definitely picked that up. But also the rifle, enabled me to take it to that level. You know what I mean? I've seen guys do really well, get top 10s with a slightly upgraded M&P, but to really crack that top 5 and then stay up there consistently, I think the rifle is a big part of it. And like I said, when I was down in the States watching all the top guys, I got to see Jerry Mikulek. I got to watch him shoot, and that's what he's using. You know what I mean? He's using a lightweight rifle, a 1-6 on it, low mass, rifle length gas, adjustable, soft shooting, and that's what the pros are using. And so wanted to try and emulate that best I could with this rifle.
It's like watching Rain Man shoot, isn't it?
It really is. And man, you'd be surprised. I watched that guy go
it's over before you even know it.
I watched that guy get down on all fours and crawl through a sonotube as part of this one stage, and man, he was just as fast as any of the young guys, just right through it.
Yeah, but he could probably just walk slowly, or crawl backwards through it and still be faster than most of the people, just because he saves so much time shooting.
Yeah, man. Well, the guy doesn't miss. And he's very, very methodical on the longer shots. They're all using the Stadia, and it's a one shot at the, you take a shot at the middle, shot at the top, shot at the bottom, and usually within those 3 shots, they've hit that steel target of 500. It's just, it's pretty awesome. It's awesome to watch that kind of thing in motion.
So, Ian did his build. We talked a little bit about cost. Dave did his build. Let's address a question that's related to Dave's buffer system. Thomas Love from Facebook.
Okay.
Adjustable gas block versus adjusting buffer weight to tune the rifle. Also, optimal buffer weight for various gas system lengths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variables in that. That's the problem. I mean, having more.
So I'm gonna do the first one then, since there's a lot of variables. Adjustable gas block versus adjustable buffer weight depends on the rifle. Is it a duty rifle? Is it a service rifle? Or is it a 3-gun rifle? Because if it's a 3-gun rifle, get an adjustable gas block and fuck with it. If it's something that you're going to use as a defensive rifle, if it's a tool to save your life or the life of those that matter to you, get a fixed gas block and don't
all the
fuck
gas,
with
all
it.
all the gas, all the time. Yeah.
Well, and leave it as close to mil spec of the original design as you can to increase reliability, right? So, like, if you
that's my thing. So, if you're getting a rifle that you're going to use to like put holes in bad people, make it a reliable rifle. Crank the gas system all the way to 11. Get it as close to rifle length as you can. Have it be milled out at the correct diameter for the gas port. Like, do everything you can to make it incredibly reliable, and that means not having a set screw in your gas block.
Yeah, no Gucci parts, no bad levers, no nothing. Like, keep it
skeletonized BCGs.
keep it simple and reliable and robust. Because if it's a workhorse, it needs to work.
Now, if it's a 3-gun rifle and it's a toy and it's for to play with it on the range, then tune the shit out of it. Because this is the difference between like you got a stock car and you got like a race car.
You got a Formula One.
So right now you're talking about like a race car, like a vehicle that you can tune. Not just that you can tune, but like for the track on that day, right? Like
this bullet size, this amount of gas for this particular bullet. This is what you're fine tuning for.
Well, and the other thing with that is like if you're going to get something that you can adjust and that you can tune like that, know how to tune it, learn how to tune it, play with it, get like because just because you can have an adjustable gas block doesn't mean that it's going to work better for you or not. Like if you don't,
I touch it very. To honestly, I touch it very little. Because like you said, fucking with it, just.
Well, because as soon as you adjust more than one thing, then you're putting too many variables in the equation, right?
Well, exactly, and that's why like it's handy to have it so that you can tune your rifle. But then once you've got it working correctly,
don't really want to fuck with that mojo. Yeah, don't really want to fuck with that mojo.
Right, like once you've got like the right buffer weight to the right gas system to the right powder charge and bullet weight, you don't want to fuck with it anymore. But you've tuned those things to your likings and make sure that it works. Then you just fucking leave it.
Yeah.
Oh, to answer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to Brent. We're gonna rotate between guns and questions because it's fun that way. Plus, it makes Brent wait. He didn't
been waiting so
back
long
on Facebook. Well, yeah, but he's on the YouTube. He can stay tuned in for another 15 minutes and wait till the end of the episode. He'll be fine. Tomislav, we don't know when we're gonna hear from him again because I was on Facebook at 2 this afternoon. Buffer weights and various gas system lengths. The heaviest buffer that you can reliably function the gun on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's different for every gun, and it's different for every batch of ammo, and it's different for every rifle. So what runs in your mid-length 16-inch gun with 62 grain PMC does not necessarily mean that an H2 buffer is the be-all and end-all for every 16-inch rifle when it's running PMC. Like, it doesn't work that way. Get what works reliably in your gun, and I mean, buffers are relatively inexpensive. Get a couple.
Odin actually makes a sweet new buffer that has adjustable weights that you can swap out and you can basically go from light to heavy with all the weight. It comes with tungsten weight and regular steel.
All buffers are adjustable if you try hard enough.
Yeah, you just gotta get a tungsten ball and knock out the pin.
Without dremeling, anything's possible. Really,
I would start with H2, and if you have to go later, great.
Yeah.
I would say generally the H2 is going to cover you for most things. Bearing in mind, of course, there's differences between carbine buffers and rifle buffers. They are not interchangeable, but let's assume that everybody's using a carbine buffer with a collapsible stock, like an adjustable 6-position stock, like a normal person. They're not using like a crazy proprietary JP thing like Dave. They're not using a crazy PDW stock like Gavin. Like they're using a normal 6-position carbine buffer stock. Go get an H2 buffer and see if it runs. It'll probably run. If it doesn't, drop an H3 in it, and it'll fix you. Or if you're on a rifle, like a rifle length gas system, drop an H1 in it, and it'll somewhere in there. You're probably going to run fine on one of those 3 settings for like 90% of rifles.
And that's the nice thing with the Stag too, is that he still runs the carbine length buffer system, right? So, or carbine buffer size, so that it's just why not just stick to one type of buffer like that? We can play around between rifles and everything else. So whether you use 223 or 308, great.
Yep. That's my thought. All right, Gavin, if you had or were going to have an AR-15,
I guess I have a few. So I've got an SLR that I built. I've got a Colt IUR that I built, which I've kept fairly stock, except I do have a few small upgrades. I've dropped a two-stage trigger in it, and I also have a silent capture buffer in it, which is pretty nice. I have the Arma spec one, but I did last year build my dream rifle, which is my Noveske SBR. So 7.5-inch barrel. It's all Noveske parts, so barrel, brake, handguard, upper, lower. But there are a few pieces that are not. So I run a Maxim Defense PDW stock on it to make it nice and short. That has its own proprietary buffer system, but uses a standard bolt carrier, which to me was important because, like, if you start getting weird, like, proprietary bolt carriers, that if it breaks, then it's like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
And they're expensive and all of that. So uses a standard bolt carrier, which to me was important. I've got a Magpul enhanced mag release. I've got the Geisley or Giselle, however you want to pronounce it, because everyone does either or.
Geisley. When I met Bill, he said, "Hi, I'm Bill Geisley." He didn't say, "Hi, I'm Bill Giselle."
Yeah, well, people say it both. So just to make sure the listeners know what I'm talking about, I've got their two-stage trigger in it, and I also have their Maritime bolt catch on it. Magpul Maya grip, the EOTech XPS 3-0, the night vision one on it, Magpul backup irons. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that's in that one.
All right,
Yeah.
and now to appeal to Ian's tism, let's address Brent's question. So Gavin, if you were going to buy a used gun on the internet, assuming this is illegal in the jurisdiction in which you live, and I know that you live in Canada and it is legal, where would you go on the internet to buy a used AR-15?
I mean, so short of looking at your local gun store and their consignment inventory, because, you know, support local when you can, I know a bunch of guys are going to say CGN, but in my opinion, CGN is the AIDS of Canadian gun websites. So there's also gunpost.ca that seems to have some decent ads on it.
See, I would have just gone with Canadian Gun Nuts, because don't go to the rest of the forums on Canadian Gun Nuts and just go to the equipment exchange.
but like,
literally the
but
only
I mean,
forums I use.
But I mean, if someone's asking where they can go to find this, chances are they haven't been accepted into the equipment exchange on CGN, which seems to be.
What about Brent? Brent says he's new to computers and guns.
Yeah, so he can't go to the EE because you need some sort of magical password acceptance thing, which they still haven't given to me. Although probably because I never post on their site, even though I did meet the bare minimums of what they require. So gunpost.ca would be a good place to look, or the website of your local gun store and their consignment inventory. Select Shooting, NAS, FOC even has consignment. So, you know, if you're in the GTA-ish area, they're great. But I mean, they will ship guns across the country. I mean, Wolverine.
Well, I would say CGN has more listings.
Yeah.
And it's a bit, onerous to get on there. But Gunpost, I think I haven't even got a positive trading rating on there yet, because it keeps on giving me problems. There's either like guys trying to buy guns without a license. I've had that happen 3 times in the last week. And where CGN, it's like never a problem with the trading rating system.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got to be a little bit more involved to get accepted into it, I assume that weeds out all the people that are trying to panic buy a gun without a license right now.
Yeah, I would say that the trader system on Canadian Gun Nuts is probably the only thing I like about Canadian Gun Nuts. I don't like the forums. I don't like the people. I don't like interacting with other gun owners. I don't like all of the panic and fear mongering. I don't like the misinformation. But the equipment exchange and my 100-point positive trader rating, I'm quite happy with, because when I go on and I buy something, generally I give someone money and 2 weeks later something shows up in the mail at my house.
Yeah,
and I've had one
I've
problem.
had 300 ratings. I've got one problem, and That was it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I've had like some issues with communication, or like people aren't willing to make a deal because they don't really understand what they had, and they're like, "I want $300 for this." I'm like, "Bro, it's worth $100. I'll give you 100 and you ship it." And they're like, "No, I know what I have." And it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
You're dumb, but you fine. But like most of the time, it's like, "Hey, I have money. Do you want money? Okay, cool. Ship me gun part. Thanks."
Yeah. Although I don't want to ruin anyone's secrets, but like little known fact, if you have a bunch of old DVDs you want to unload, CGN is the place to do that.
CGN's a good place to do that too. Yeah, yeah. We have a mutual friend that unloaded their DVD collection on Canadian Gun Nuts and made out quite handsomely.
Yeah.
Oh, I've actually sold old copies of Pravda I had from Soviet Russia back in the 90s, and they bought somebody bought it on there too.
So, I mean, I would look at that. The other thing that was not mentioned that I would look at would be Gun Owners of Canada, GOC.
Yeah.
It is not as popular as Canadian Gun Nuts, but it does seem to have a pretty good trader area, equipment exchange area, whatever that is.
And list stuff on both, and I'll always get a buyer first on CGN because there's just not enough traffic on GOC to make it worthwhile. Like I still list stuff on there every time. Like I just copy and paste the same listing from CGN onto GOC, and I never saw anything on GOC. Unfortunately, there's just not enough people looking.
There's just not enough people there, but I would give it a try. I mean, you might have luck there. I mean, Brent says he's not in a gun club currently.
Old school, collector-y type pieces. There's some websites that specialize in like antique firearms and stuff like that. That's your jam. But
and if it's not your jam, it could be, because remember, these guns were designed in the 50s. Everybody.
Yeah, but I meant more like old school revolvers that are not classified as firearms. Not that those exist.
Fair enough.
If you have an old Buckley, you can reach the show at feedback.
That's right. That is absolutely right. All right. So I think this makes it my turn to talk about guns.
What have you done in guns this week, Andrew?
Get past my knees there.
Yeah, I guess technically you're not handling it.
We can't handle guns on the YouTube. But I can definitely zoom in on the gun next to the spare bookshelves.
That just happens to be there.
This is now my YouTube video. This is now my YouTube video, so good luck with that. So, if you've ever smashed that subscribe YouTube channel, you know what to do. Did I do that okay?
Close enough.
Do it.
Yeah. You got to get the smooth, silky voice to go, if you've ever.
Right, so, I feel like my shirt's not flannelly enough.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you smashed those like and subscribe buttons as hard as Andrew smashed his face against that rifle in a competition.
That's right. So I will all style parts list on my my current Wonder gun, the AR that I have finally settled on, at least for this year. Going from the front. Matador Arms regulator muzzle brake, International Barrels 15-inch CQB barrel, Moodiac upper, Spikes upper receiver, Samson Evolution 11-inch rail, Magpul QD sling, Aimpoint Comp M4, Midwest Industries HK style backup sights, Streamlight Pro Tac Light, BCM Gunfighter handle. The Mod 3 is important. One of my other rifles is a Mod 4. There's a big hole. There's a thing. Spike's lower receiver. The AR receiver, the pirate receiver with the Jolly Roger on it. We've lost Ian. That's disappointing.
You maybe got an awkward boner from your
Geisley or Tricon trigger. Magpul bad lever. BCM pistol grip. Battle Arms development ambi safety. 6 stock assembly with the E-Mod stock and a Blue Force Gear Vickers sling. Because Larry frickin' Vickers, man.
Yeah, good slings.
Total of about $3,700. Don't tell my wife what I paid for this.
It's one of those $500 guns?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, it was definitely a $500 gun several times over.
Yeah, at one point it was. And then he bought the rest of the parts.
Part of the thing is like you buy a part, like so you buy a barrel trigger when the triggers are on sale, and I didn't pay retail on all of this stuff because I went and priced it out based on today's stuff with today's exchange rate. Because like you can't buy a Veltor A6 stock in Canada; nobody has them. So I bought one from Brownells, but I bought one from Brownells in like 2015 when the dollar was strong, and it was like $120 US then, and the exchange rate was like 90 cents on the dollar. So,
well, that was like, I mean, I did the same with my Noveski. Like, that is a pricey rifle, but I didn't buy it all at one time. I bought it piece by piece by piece by piece so I could afford it over time.
Well, same thing if you're going to get like a Giselle trigger, as they like to say.
Yeah.
You can get it on CGN for a lot cheaper than you pay retail for if you can find one in Canada for sale.
Yeah.
That's right. There are places to. They're nice triggers and there are places to get them, but I mean, I don't want to drop $300 on a Super Tricon. Not when I can drop 180 US when the dollar was at 96 cents or whatever, and now I have 3. Yeah. I'm just never gonna run out.
Yeah.
We gotta know people.
Yeah. This is the 3-gun CQB gun. This is currently my favorite AR that I don't get to shoot enough because the whole like gun ranges being closed thing.
Maybe I'll change it in May.
Well, I hope so. And I mean, I have a couple of other ARs. I think this is probably about my 15th or 16th AR that I've built, and it's probably like the 4th or 5th AR deep in my collection. Like, I think I'm about 5 deep right now. Because I have a couple of clone builds that I'm working on. I have a service rifle build that I use exclusively for one sport. I have a rifle that I gave to my wife. So like I don't have my original, like I bought like an M4 style stag, like a bare bone stag years ago, and that's become my wife's rifle that we just put a 22 kit in. It's like I never shoot it anymore, but like I'm not selling it because it's a super reliable, basic, simple AR.
I also do like that you called it a rifle, which is an excellent
description. Well, that's the whole rifle and wife and drinking and the
very accurate
pudding pops.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So can we call it an AW-15 because it's Andrew's rifle 15?
That's right, a rifle. You can fuck right off with that. Why don't we talk about 5-round magazines?
Ugh.
Do you want me to get angry or
do we have to?
Okay.
Do they have those?
If you own an AR-15 in Canada, what is the rules for semi-automatic rifles and magazine capacity?
5 rounds of lameness.
With the big asterisk.
Yeah.
So
Except when you don't have to.
Yeah, it's 5 rounds of whatever the magazine was designed for caliber-wise.
And that's where the Beowulf came into a bit of a problem with the RCMP because 5 rounds of Beowulf held like what, 13 rounds of 223 or something like that. But
15. It was closer to 14 or 15 actually. But
yeah. But so that's where they start getting into like the technicality of the way that the ruling is going. Because right now there are some places that have some 1030 magazines that use USGI magazine bodies that they say are pistol magazines, but are maybe questionable or not, depending on how you interpret the law, and that's the problem.
Well, so I don't leave it up to me interpreting the law. This is the thing. The law is reasonably clear. Semi-automatic rifle magazines have to be mechanically limited to 5 rounds, and pistol magazines have to be limited to 10 rounds. But there's no rule that says I can't stick a pistol magazine in a rifle. And there's no rule that says that I can't stick a pistol magazine that was designed for a different caliber in a different pistol. Like you can use a 40 caliber Glock mag in a 9 millimeter Glock,
and fit that extra round.
It kind of works, and you get like one more round out of it.
Yeah, and the regs even say that that's legal.
Yep. Well, the regs don't say that it's not illegal, which is basically the same thing.
Yeah, but the RCMP's website states that as an example. It does say that it is legal.
That's right. Yeah. The government, the Queen's Cowboys do provide examples of where this is legal. And things like the Rock River Arms LAR-15 pistol magazine. Because remember, In America, the rules are different. So they actually have AR-15s that they build as pistols to get around NFA, National Firearms Act laws that would otherwise require a tax stamp for a short barrel rifle or all other weapon or some other kind of NFA regulated item. They have ways that they can get around that by making AR-15 pistols. And we don't care what they use for pistols in America. We care what fits in them. Pistol magazines, and you can definitely use a AR-15 pistol magazine with 10 rounds in Canada.
But so this is what I was getting at, though. So typically the AR 10-round pistol magazines are the short body ones, and they have redesigned it so it has been designed for the AR pistol, so therefore it is officially a pistol magazine, as opposed to the other magazine companies that have taken a standard 30-round body and have just told people that it's pistol and written it on the side and pinned it to 10. So that's where the gray area lies.
Well, that's because that's what they came up with for a designation of what makes a pistol magazine, is that it has to be clearly marked as such. So in compliance, not a loophole, but in compliance with the law, that's what the guys did with the hex bags, is they marked them as pistol magazines because that's all they had to do.
Yes, but also, though, it's not that. It's what it was designed for. So if the original body design was designed for the rifle, it's still a rifle magazine. You can't just write pistol on it.
And yet they did it the other way with the 1022 magazines, right? So they're trying to do it both ways, right?
Well, exactly.
Of course,
and that's where you start getting the problem going one way or the other. And well, if it's designed for, then yes, those 1030 magazines are prohibited. But then, as long as you've got the magazines for your 1022 that were designed prior to the Charger pistol being made, then completely legal and should be fine for the rifle because they were designed for the rifle. But yeah, the Queens Cowboys, like always, want to have their cake and eat it too. So it's as clear as mud. Yeah.
How do we feel about cross industries?
Never used them. I'm more of a mission first tactical guy for the 10 rounders.
I mean, it's an
Cross
interesting
came
design.
out recently. I think, was it this year it shot or last year it shot that those got introduced?
This year.
So they've been trying to bring these to market for at least the last 2, if not 3 years.
But we finally have them.
But yeah, so they were at SHOT Show this year. They were also there last year and I believe the year before. So it's taken them all of that time to finally have a product come to market. And they basically this year, right at SHOT Show is when they actually finally did come to market. And they're 10-round short style magazines where the bottom connects to the bottom of the other magazine in various configurations. So you can get your sort of somewhat curved magazine or a straight magazine and all kinds of other ways of fitting butt to butt. And I mean, it's an interesting way of getting around the laws, but I don't know if I like having to flip a magazine upside down to reinsert it into the gun.
Well, I don't think I like that either.
What can get in the top of that magazine if you're on the ground lying prone or whatever too, right?
If you shoot off your mag like a man, then you're going to get dirt in all those rounds that are on the bottom. So
and bend the feed lips and do other weird things. And I guess we should address that part too, because there is this myth, especially amongst old sergeants major, that you shouldn't rest the rifle on the magazine because it's bad for the rifle and you'll induce stoppages. And the 1970s called and they want their training manual back.
Guess what? We shoot 500 yards off the mag.
Shoot off the mag like a man. It's good for you. It's good for the rifle.
Yeah, I mean, there are some rifles out there that if you do that, it will fuck things up with.
But they're usually called...
The AR is not one of those rifles.
But they're usually called Schmeisser, I do believe, or something like that.
Well, I mean, I found that, my Savage Mark II, if you apply any sort of upward pressure on the magazine when you were trying to shoot it...
Oh, it totally jacks with the feeding mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass with DRS for sure.
Yeah, it changes the angle, and then it binds everything up and not good. But for the AR is not one of those things. Although if you do have some of those 1030 magazines and you try to use those on a closed bolt, I mean, even the MFT ones I find are a little tight.
You need to get the
but
10
they're not quite as bad. You try to seat that thing, and unless you really give it hell, it's not going to seat properly on a closed bolt.
Yeah. So I think
they pin those to exactly 10 rounds and not 10 1/3 to give you that wiggle room.
Shall we talk about building an AR? I think Gavin, you touched on it earlier that building is definitely an option and may save you money.
With YouTube,
yeah, I mean, at the very least, building your own allows you to, even if you don't save money, you spend the same amount of money to hopefully get some slightly better parts, or at least the exact parts that you want.
I would say that's generally it, is that you get the exact parts that you want.
Yeah, I saw that guy's bolt carrier that at the range is like, ooh, I really want that, but it doesn't come in this rifle.
And not to mention, you get a much better appreciation for how the gun works.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's honestly with between YouTube and forums, and then friends at the range, off the range, it is not that hard, and it's not that difficult. You can buy one multi-tool, pretty much, and you're pretty much set. And you'll need a small hammer and some punches, a punch set.
I'd say there's some stuff that you should probably have anyway if you're going to own an AR, because eventually things are going to break or wear out, or you're going to want to replace them. Mm-hmm. So if you're the kind of gun owner that owns more than a couple of guns, like if you own more than 2 or 3 guns that you ever replace parts on, so literally any pistols ever, because you should service those regularly. Sorry, not talking to you deer hunters that are working on the same box of whatever you shoot deers with since 1997.
CIL so brand ammo that they bought at Home Hardware.
Yeah, so you guys that are still working on that box, that's what the hell is Dave playing with? It's super loud.
Sorry, getting one of those tools that we're talking about.
Yes, the tools.
His AR got excited and he had to tell it to settle down.
You want to get yourself a block. This is for holding your upper in a vise without actually damaging it.
Have you already broken yours, Dave?
No, I took it apart on purpose because I wanted it to rest flat. Or actually, sorry, it was the Ascend Armory receiver set. Actually, it's a bit. Like I said, it's very proprietary. It's not the exact it's not mil spec whatsoever. So I actually had to take it apart so that it would reasonably fit properly in it.
The problem is, as soon as you get one of those, Dave, as soon as you have a non-AR like Modern Sporter or an SLR, it doesn't work. So much better off with a reaction rod, like Andrew's about to mention. Right.
Yeah, well, I think so. There's a couple of parts that you're gonna need anyway, and if you're a moderately handy person, you should probably just have. And if you're going to have any kind of guns that you service on the regular basis, like any pistols or ARs, you probably want to have. Oh, there's Ian's quality bench vice / forest.
Yeah, trying to mix that up. There we go.
Is that
bench vice?
You got to turn the alpha layer down on your video. Bench vice, brass and steel punches, roll pin starter punches. This is key. Also, roll pin punches. There's a difference between a roll pin starter punch and a roll pin punch. You will want both.
Amazon.
I mean, it makes life easier, but it's not 100%.
No, if you're installing roll pins, I don't feel like you have a choice. You really need a starter punch and a real roll pin punch.
I mean, not everybody has 15 years of mechanical experience as well. So
I know, and that's kind of the thing is putting in a roll pin is one of those things that if you don't have the right tools to put it in, it's just going to make your life miserable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, electrical tape on the receiver and then the Wheeler Engineering starter and actual punches, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to be terribly expensive. The Wheeler combo kit's $40 or something.
Not even. I think I got it for 30 on Amazon.
One thing you can also do is they are a pain in the ass. If you take your Dremel and you kind of just edge the start side a little bit so that it
just give it a little bevel so it gets started. Yeah.
That's one thing you can do because I've had, my SLR, I had one of the very first ones out of manufacturing, and they had a bit of a problem with the bolt catch roll pin being very undersized, and it was a big pain in my ass to do.
It's
And
a
I
pain in the
find
ass
just,
on the
like,
best of
I
days.
find just in general putting that particular part in an AR, for me anyways, is a real pain in my dick. So
well,
I
pain
Pain in the
always
dick on the best of days.
I always just take the Dremel out and just
Just give it a
shave a
little
little
bevel.
bit off the edge and get it started, and then it's nice and solid in there. And then, but I mean, I built my ARs and I've built 4 now with like absolute minimal tools.
Yeah, you could definitely do it with.
Yeah, it makes it
less.
easier.
I would think that. Well, and not getting into the specialized tools, but like shop tools that you should probably have anyway. Like I built my first AR without bench vise. I do not recommend clamping your receiver to your bench. Or, I guess clamping your receiver to your kitchen table, which is what I did at the time. It worked, but in retrospect, I do not recommend it. It is not a fun AR building experience. Do not clamp a 2x4 to your kitchen table and then clamp your receiver to the 2x4. It is not a good design, but it works.
I mean, I've built. I mean, so the only real proprietary tool I think you need is like the castle nut wrench and the barrel nut wrench. Those are the two, like, you need those because you can't really do it without. And then the only other tools that I say are absolutely necessary are the roll punches, like, and the starter kit. Like, those are the things that, like, if you have those, you can build one. It's a pain in the ass, but you can do it. Everything
and you don't
else
need very
makes
many
it
of those. I think
easier. And you need,
there's 3 or 4 sizes of roll pin on an AR.
Yeah.
This one will do your muzzle
Ian and
device.
David are holding up their. These are what we refer to as armorer's tools. This is an AR-15 armorer's wrench, which covers the castle nut wrench and also the barrel nut wrench. And they have a driver for a 1/2-inch drive torque wrench.
Yep.
And then it'll also do the muzzle device as well.
And most of the
standard size.
Most of the barrel nut wrenches will actually come, like, if you get a hand guard, it'll come with the actual barrel nut, wrench attachment.
Especially if you have one of those weird proprietary-ish ones, because sometimes they're different.
So on the topic of things that are a little bit more AR specific, I would definitely think that if you're going to build an AR, an armorer's wrench or the various wrench types that you're going to need are a worthwhile investment. And what's the Magpul armorer's wrench is like $40, $50?
Yeah, 30, 40 bucks,
Yeah, something like that. The only thing I don't like about the Magpul one compared to some of the other ones is the way that they've done their castle nut wrench.
Because you have to slide it like all the way over because it's not
open
on one side.
Yeah, because I've got a couple of firearms that use AR style buttstocks that you can't take the back end off. Yeah. So you can't slide the wrench over. For an AR, it's perfect because you just don't put the buttstock on and it just slides right over the buffer tube and away you go, and it's great. And you get like a good solid grip on it. But for other things that you kind of sometimes need it for, doesn't work good. But for the AR, if that's all you're worried about, the Magpul one works great. It's got everything that you need. Barrel nut wrench, castle nut wrench, and the muzzle brake fits in here.
Yeah, I'm partial to the heavy steel DPMS USMC marked wrench that I've had for like 7 years, because it was like a $15 wrench that I have to oil once a year because it's just like bare unfinished steel. But it also weighs like 8 pounds, so literally you hang it on the side of the AR and you let go, and that's enough tension to hold everything together because it weighs a ton. On that note, though, it is probably worthwhile to buy yourself a 1/2-inch drive foot-pound torque wrench. If you're going to do any sort of automotive projects, this is probably a thing you already have or should look at anyway. But
changing your snow tires out,
or even go to the garage sale, $5 for a torque meter. Same idea.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Used torque meter works. You can get the fancy Milwaukee electronic M12 or M18 electronic torque wrench thing that's like $400, but I don't feel like your average person needs that.
You can keep your eye out on
is if you have
tire.
like Hornady reloading stuff, the Milwaukee stuff will match.
That's right.
Yeah, if you keep your eye out at crappy tire, you can usually get their 1/2-inch one.
Yeah,
for
or
$100.
Princess Auto.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I like to say buy quality and buy Canadian and or American, like for some of this stuff, like a roll pin punch.
I mean, there's pros and cons on that. I would get a good torque wrench that you can get recalibrated.
Yeah.
And the Mastercraft Canadian Tire one is probably it's not Mastercraft, is it? What's the Canadian Tire brand?
It's Mastercraft Maximum or Mastercraft. Yeah. I have the Mastercraft one. It's good for home use. It kind of broke down when I was using it like every day industrially, basically, like at work. It can stand up to the test, but at home for doing your wheels, it's accurate. It just doesn't take excessive use. So,
it's not a professional shop quality that's going to stand up to that day in and day out. But for you to do it every now and again at home probably lasts you a lifetime
forever.
or very close to.
Yeah.
Well, and my thing with a torque wrench is like as long as you can recalibrate it yourself, it's probably fine. Because just recalibrate it before you use it once a year. Just make sure it's still good.
Yeah.
Just learn how to calibrate yours. As long as it's adjustable, you're fine.
Yeah.
There are two other AR-15 specific tools that are not expensive, difficult to acquire in Canada, and I would strongly recommend because the pain in the ass factor goes down significantly. A pivot pin installation tool, which is a fancy wrench that holds a pivot detent in place when you install it in the front takedown pin. It's like a $5 thing you buy from Brownells. Maybe it's a little more than $5. $15 thing you buy from Brownells.
If you don't have one, buy extra detents.
No, actually,
it makes installing a detent so much easier.
Oh no, I got an easy hack for that. It's a 1/4 inch by 2 inch long clevis pin from Home Depot for $2, and I'll show you. I'll put a video in the show notes. It shows you how to install it and remove it with using this clevis pin. No problems.
So I use a roll pin punch and just slide that through.
Yeah, that's all I did. You just follow it in.
And then but the hard part is, I mean, you got to use you got to put your spring in your detent, and then like a very thin flat nose screwdriver to hold it all in while you slide the roll pin in, and then you just follow it out the other way with your pivot pin.
Yeah, there's probably a couple of ways to solve this problem, but I mean, I just
tool
bought the
makes it very
the
tool makes it very easy,
super slick.
Yeah.
The other thing that's a pain in the dick to install is the bolt catch pin, and I recommend buying the bolt catch pin punch. Again, Brownells. I think it's like an $8 US part.
Yeah.
The bolt catch pin is really difficult to access because of the way that it's installed on the side of the receiver, and the bolt catch pin punch is basically like milled flat. 50% of the bar stock is gone on one side, so it's just flat on one face, so that it doesn't interfere with the receiver. And it's difficult to describe, but like imagine putting like a round pin in a square hole, but also the square hole is 50% too big.
Yeah. And then
this
part of the other problem is you start getting some ARs that are not quite mil spec on their outer dimensions, and it makes it even worse.
Yeah. So I would recommend those couple of parts
from the front end and or the rear end, depending on exactly how out of mil spec your outer diameter is, as to what's easier for you. It's a real nuisance.
Also a good trick. Use electrical tape to try and protect the side of the receiver.
I'm not worried about
mar your stuff up on like Gavin.
I'm gonna use
some people pay extra for battle worn, and some people are they do it as they're installing on their kitchen table.
Yeah. I'm gonna beat the shit out of it anyways, so whatevs.
I want the scratches to come from the range, not from my shitty tooling.
It's like having an idiot mark on a 1911. It's just one of those things that's embarrassing. If you're not embarrassed, maybe you should be. So I would look at those couple of things. The other thing, I mean, Ian touched on briefly, the Geisley or Giselle reaction rod, or a set of vice blocks appropriate for your upper and lower. Magpul makes one. Brownells makes a generic set that fits on like AR style ARs, not other non-mil spec ones. The reaction rod fits in basically any AR-15. The Magpul one I think fits in anything that's 5.56 AR-15-ish, but it relies on the interior diameter, so it's probably more universal.
Yeah, although I think Andrew also has a reaction rod for the Colt Python.
Yeah, I do. It's an 8-inch Colt Python. It's quite girthy. Yeah, so I mean, I'd look at those things. If you're gonna have an AR, you're probably gonna want to play with it at some point and change out parts. And
Yeah.
most of it is done with like standard hand tool shop tools. There's a couple of things that are gonna make your life easier, like having the appropriate vice block and an armorer's wrench and a torque wrench and a couple of other specialized tools, just to not be a pain in the balls.
Yeah.
Also buy spare parts, because if you're going to build one, don't buy one D10, buy the bulk pack, buy 10 D10s.
Oh yeah, you're gonna need them.
You're going to lose them. You're going to run out.
Especially if it's your first build, you're gonna go through a couple of those, and they are
or
pain in the
like
ass to find.
Gavin's thing with roll pins. I was installing a gas block for somebody, and I probably fucked up like 4 roll pins on one gas block one afternoon.
Yeah, I crushed a few where you're just like you're getting it, and it's like you're going nice and slow, and everything's fine, and you're like, okay, it's great, and then all of a sudden it just like it turns sideways and kinks, and you're like, ding, fuck, and you smash it all, and you can't put it back in, so you got to pull it out. Like, yeah, not good.
Or you have a friend that needs a gas. What roll pin did I have to drop off at your place, Dave? It was a gas tube?
It was the gas tube roll pin.
Yeah, so I mean, like, just if you're gonna build, I mean, you may as well buy pins, buy D10 pins, buy roll pins in bulk, and have extras. Because if you have a roll pin, that's just an AR you haven't built yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ask Tyler. Pretty sure that's how you started it.
I got to start a new build.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think we've touched on some places. There's parts, retailers in the show notes, some places to buy. I think we've already touched on the majority of those. AR-15 alternatives, 223 rifles that are not the AR-15. You want to run down those? Maybe touch on your favorites, or ones that you have, or ones that you would never buy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my 2 favorites are the Modern Sporter and the Stag Arms. So one in 308, one in 223. The SLR was a bit of a hit for a while, but honestly, that screw that holds the upper and lower together just is setting off my tism something fierce. So I much prefer the 1-pin system of the Modern Sporter and the 2-pin traditional AR style of the Stag 10. The rest of them, I mean, I guess the FX9 is kind of the same idea and stuff, but honestly, the rest, I have problems with Keltec. I have problems with a bunch of them. IWI, like the Tavor, the trigger's just horrible. Duranko, you got...
Oh, God, it's a bullpup. Triggers on bullpups are atrocious by the nature of their bullpups.
Like, the first time I fired a Type 97 Duranko, I thought it blew up in my face, but it was just normal ops. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to do that. That's a feature.
The Type 97, and that's just a trash rifle. Like the Tavor
is this
a
what
lot
they mean
better.
with the extra killing power?
Yeah, and the XTR-L, I had one of those for a while too, and same thing. I was like, my left forearm was getting to the size of Popeye after a while because it's so front heavy. Even that was with the key mod version. Yeah. Sorry, but that was like the lighter version, and it was still just horrible. So I mean, there's just very few for the actual, like, you know, aesthetics and ergonomics of the actual AR-15.
I mean, even the WK 108s or 180s or whatever, like those are a thing, but like they've had some problems. Their new, I guess it's not a WK because they've told Kodiak to fuck off, but the new Wolverine version of it, which has kind of got all the fixes that needed to be done to it, has kind of just come out.
But honestly, of that 3, the only 3 I'll ever buy again out of that entire list that you have there is the FX9, which I haven't tried yet, but then the Stag and the Modern Sporter. I mean, I won't touch any of them again.
Yeah, I allegedly have the Stag 10, and it's definitely by far the identical, other than the barrel thicknesses.
I put the Stag Arms Stag 10 on the list because it is a popular alternative to the AR-15 as a non-restricted rifle, but it is. As far as I'm aware, you could not get one chambered in 223.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But you get it in 243, 260.
I mean,
it's a large frame AR. It's an AR-10 DPMS style AR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're using the 308 Winchester parent cartridge, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are some other brands out there that make an AR-10. And their previous entity made some really shitty AR-15s that comes from the northeastern area.
Yeah, I guess we can shit talk them because they're never a sponsor of the show. I would
won't.
not.
I had one
buy-
of them. I had one of them,
I've
and
had
I
an
sold
NEA.
it so I could
would
get the
not.
stag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not buy another NEA or in this case a Black Creek Labs BCL. I've taught courses and watched people get smashed in the face by their BCL charging handles. I've had an NEA that had catastrophic bolt failure in the middle of a match. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
I've had an NEA rifle, an NEA shotgun barrel, and an NEA forend. All three failed miserably.
About the only thing that the NEA receivers are good for is a placeholder in case you need to get grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Well, I think isn't that what your wife has now is an NEA that meets that function, Ian?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's the only reason she has it, and it would be paid what it was worth.
I tried 3 lower parts kits in that AR, and it just would nothing fit.
No, I mean, and that's why it's the only reason we have it in the house. It's just there to hold
I think there's actually a detent stuck in one of those. If you look in it, I bet there's a detent stuck in it somewhere that I put in and couldn't get back out because it went in part way and then stopped.
I'll have to dig into the back of the safe to look, but honestly, it's like,
oh my god,
because it's just like it's such a gong show. It's a completely different manual of arms, but an alternative that I would look at would be a VZ58 in 223.
Yeah.
Well,
you can put an adjustable stock on it. You can put an optic on it, although it is absolutely trash. I would not do that. I would just shoot the irons that it comes with.
I mean, I do really like the platform. The only pain in the ass part is the proprietary mags for it, but you can get the AR mag adapter, but then you lose the last round bolt open.
By the same token, though, I can phone Sean at ATRS if I have a problem and get a spare part in the mail same day. And unless you speak Czech, you're not going to get anything from VZ anytime soon. I mean, and that's assuming they're still making parts for it, right?
I do have 2 of them, and they're very reliable.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's a great platform. I just think when you go to the 223, there are some setbacks to it that.
Yeah, compared to the 7.62 version, I'm inclined to agree. But yeah, I think as a 223 rifle, it is a viable alternative option.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But compared to like an AR or you start getting almost
and that's the thing,
into
is
the
it's
same
completely,
price. Like,
I put it on at $1,500. It is a completely different manual of arms. It is completely different from an AR, but it is a 223 rifle, and it does fill that role as a semi-automatic. I'm not
reliable
like
service
rifle, but it's a reasonable.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I love the platform, and it's kind of the first thing I really got started on, and like I still love it, and I still like shooting it. But yeah, I have the 7.62 version. But yeah, if there's no other options, it is definitely a viable option.
I do want to go on to the YouTube comments. Albertan mentions the Benelli MR1, and I appreciate this. The Albertan says, have owned Tavor's XCRL WK180. The Benelli Ram veteran was more accurate. Just fugly. It's not fugly, bro. It's Italian.
It's probably got some fancy shoes that come with it. Like, no, it's not pretty.
The MR1 is a very not aesthetically pleasing rifle, but it is a really well-built rifle, in my opinion. Like, I like the way that Benelli builds their stuff. Like, it
could be worse. It could be a California compliant rifle.
Well, but it kind of looks like it should be California compliant.
But it's like that FNAR type of thing, like the 308 version there that is super reliable. It's super well built. It's just ugly.
It is not the most attractive rifle, but the MR1 at $2,100, the MR1 is kind of like my short list of like, I would buy one of these because I know it's going to run and I know it's going to run well.
Ugly or not, it'll run. Yeah.
It's not a Keltec, which is $500 cheaper and will fail miserably.
Yeah.
It's not a Robinson, which is $1,000 more and is going to I need to work out more so I can hold it up long enough.
Yeah.
So what else is in that range where it still uses a snag pattern magazine? It's still chambered in 223. It still has a pick rail on the top. Like, it's the closest thing to an AR that's not an AR.
Looks like a CX4 Storm.
Similar.
Well, it's not all that different, and I mean that's just another fugly Italian company.
Yeah. Although one thing I would say that I would love to have, and I know that they were built for a little while. There are 223
A Daewoo K1.
Yes, but also because Roof Korea is best Korea, but a 223 FAL. They do exist.
I would accept a 223 FAL if we could have FAL.
I mean, you
Well,
would
no,
have
I
to
want an FAL so much.
you would have to make your shorts just a little bit longer because it's in 223, not the 308. But an
that's
acceptable
fine.
option.
Worth
Yeah.
it. Worth
I would
it.
I would like to like complete that collection with a scar as well, like new, old, and new.
I didn't put it on the list, but I should have put the Daewoo K1 on the list. I don't think I've ever actually seen one in Canada. I don't know if you can get a Daewoo K1 here, but
We should go around at this local convenience stores and see if they have any.
start knocking on your convenience store doors and see if anybody's got a K1. Because
It'll be in the back, covered in dust somewhere on the.
Roof Korea is best Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take that. The other thing that I'd take that's on our list here would be the FX9, which is not technically an AR, but
It's a PCC.
has a
but it's-
massive amount of interoperability for parts with an AR, and everything is in the same spot as an AR. Just
Well, then I mean, even the
dimensionally
MPX,
different.
Yeah, the MPX would kind of fall into that because the parts aren't
Yeah,
really
but-
interchangeable, but the ergonomics are the same.
What's a SIG MPX go for? Like
Oh, like
$2,500?
Yeah, they're like
Yeah,
$3,000.
plus, yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
find one in stock to get a current price on one, so I didn't include it on the list.
Yeah.
But FX9 I can get for $1,200.
Yeah.
It takes most
And it's
AR
non-restricted.
parts. It's non-restricted. It's
Yeah.
a unique upper and
I
lower.
totally
but,
want
like,
one. They're very cool.
Yeah.
And Glock mags, bro. Glock mags
Yeah.
are cheap.
Although I think
Yeah.
I'll just build a 9mm upper for my AR and
That's
the
the thing,
Matador.
right? I was trying to price it out. Like, what's cheaper, building a 9mm upper or just buying an FX9? So
I mean, Blackleaf Industries makes a 9mm AR, like upper lower, that's intriguing to me. So if you guys listen to the show and you want to sponsor it, you could send us all some 9mm ARs.
yeah, I'd love to try it out.
We'll
I'll
run
shoot the
them.
shit out of it. Absolutely.
Just say
I'll
it.
shoot
Just
the
say
shit
it.
out of it.
We all have a price.
Yeah,
And I'm cheap.
Yeah.
yeah. Just give me a good deal on it. You don't have to give it to me for free.
Maybe I could. Blackleaf Industries is the ones that make the cool flags, right? Could I just get a cool flag?
Yeah.
Just a
I
couple
mean, you've
stickers
already got
with
a
the
cool
rifle.
flag. You got a cool flag behind you.
Yeah,
Back
but
when we were
I
in
want
Serious
one.
Country.
I want one of their multicam ones.
Oh, I don't think they make those ones. That's something
Oh.
else.
Okay.
But they make cool 9mm ARs.
Well, I needed a cool 9mm AR.
I think everybody does. Alrighty.
Oh, the Albertan has one more. I missed this. An M96 Stoner 63 copy. I would definitely take a Stoner 63 because they're cool as shit. But I've never seen a Stoner 63 in Canada.
Well, Robinson Arms made a copy, right? And so there's only like 20 in Canada or something. There's not very many, and they're pretty hard to find. I think I've seen one once on CGN.
Because I mean, like that is a very like cool 80s aesthetic. Like I like the way that those rifles look.
Yeah. It's okay one.
Well, I mean, what is? But if we're gonna take like random Stoner designs, what's the new machine gun that he had? The relatively new machine gun. It's got like a skeletonized stock.
No idea.
Have to. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Where's
it is
the
a
intern
63?
when you need him?
I don't know. The Google machine is failing me. It's trying to tell me that the Stoner 63 is the machine gun.
Yeah, well, it was full auto for a while in the States, so I don't know. That might have been it.
Yeah.
I thought
I mean,
they.
You know, other other guns in 223 that I would take, a Dillon minigun.
Yes.
Clears jungle really well. I saw in the
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
Trim
You're gonna do some-
edges. Like a
yeah,
box.
you're gonna do some lawn trimming. It'd be great.
Yeah.
There's about as accurate as the 18 rifles, though, as far as hitting stuff.
That's fine. I guess 223. We didn't touch on that. would anyone on this panel like to get kicked off this panel by admitting to wanting to have a Mini 14?
Only if it's...
Nope.
Ian is audibly shaking his head.
I would like to have one, but only if it has the folding stock.
And stainless
Samson
steel.
Manufacturing has the tooling to make those. They're making the folding stock Mini 14s again.
I'm sorry, but no matter where you aim, it always seems to blow up at their feet, and it makes people jump over explosions usually.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I pity those foos.
But yeah, no, I honestly, as soon as I saw, I just no, I can't. I had a friend of mine in town here have one. I picked it up and I was like, nope.
I know. I did something about it because it's like it's that M14 action, but it doesn't feel like an M14 because it feels like it's made out of aluminum and not steel, and it's not big enough, and it doesn't recoil right, and the mags are stupid expensive.
Yeah. But it's got a folding stock, so...
Okay, so the consensus is no.
You just need to get a van from the 80s and paint it the right way, and you're fine.
Yeah.
So nobody's getting a Mini 14. That's good to know.
Hell no.
No.
Okay, good. Just checking. Just checking. I appreciate whoever changed the show notes from outro to outrage. So thank you for that. TACOM Canada. Apparently that's still on September 11th to 13, Mississauga at the International Center. If you're going to buy a ticket, please use the link in the show notes. It gives us $1 per ticket, and we can use that money to buy booze. Also, possibly electricity and internet access so we can podcast from the
Booze is
show.
a priority, though.
But yeah, booze first.
Yeah.
Booze first. We need that to get into character. Ian, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can reach me at theislandretreat@gmail.com, and you can also find me broadcasting on Sunday evenings on the other CPP, Canadian Prepper Podcast, at 9 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Dave, where can everybody find you?
Find me at the IG's, Diesel6223. And if you want to do some long-range shooting, hopefully when ranges open back up, email me at oraprecision@gmail.com.
It's nice of the ORA to give you an email address. It's too bad we don't own a website with a... Anyway. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
When I'm not standing in line for groceries, you can find me on the Instagrams at urbex_GTA. And I want to give a big shout out to Trevor Furlot from Slamfire for tuning in after they tried to hijack our Monday night show by starting theirs earlier than ours. So thanks for tuning in, Trevor. We're still the number one.
Slamfire moved to Monday night and
they were
our slot.
They were on live. Yeah,
they were live earlier.
All right, so I got a gripe with the internet community here as we're now well into hour number 2 of our normal 90-minute broadcast. So I started doing a podcast because my wife was tired of listening to me complain about politics loudly in our house. And then there's another podcast. Now there's another podcast by another guy who runs a tax shelter who's also in a similar related niche industry, and they use the initial CPP, and Ian is on both shows, and I have mixed feelings about sharing Ian with that. So there's 2 CPPs. The official Podcart is trying to horn dog in on my 9 p.m. Monday night showtime.
No, they were.
And there's another guy that's got the Canadian Minuteman podcast, and he uses the same outro music that I've been using for 4 years.
The internet is big enough for us all.
No, this is my corner of the internet. You can all go get fucked.
Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Fuck off.
I've been doing this I haven't been doing this as long as Slamfire, but have we ever not done this on Monday night? I know we've done bonus episodes on Wednesdays and stuff, and we've recorded interviews at off hours, but
special.
Have we ever not done this at Monday night?
95% of the time, I think, has been Mondays. There's been the odd, bonus episode or if shit just fucked up.
I'm assuming they're doing a bonus episode tonight, right?
Apparently, also, our music has been used on Tiger King.
God damn it! Fucking
the actual
Baskin. That bitch.
But we used it first, so fuck Joe Exotic and those guys.
Yeah.
I better watch how I say that.
I swear to God, if someone steals my Rod Giltaca interview, I'm gonna flip my fucking desk.
It's all right. One of these days, the schedule will work out, and you'll be able to make it. I know, everyone's just really busy right now, and the whole social distancing thing makes it really hard to have an interview.
I know, but there's a misconception with the social distancing thing. That doesn't mean you can't do an interview on a podcast. It just means you can't sit in my recording studio.
He did ask for people that wanted to come on his podcast, so now's your chance, man.
Yeah, but it's us interviewing Rod, not Rod interviewing us. That's not the same thing.
Wait. Okay, what is the Active Self-Protection YouTube channel, and has it been using my outro music longer than I have? Because now I have to intern something at the end of the show. God damn it.
That's right. Stay tuned for next week's episode where Andrew tells you how long they've been using the outro music.
He tells all of the
how
other
can
blogs
you see when somebody started their YouTube channel?
I think you're gonna have to start listening to episodes. That's.
I don't want to do that.
I mean, at least
does this guy seriously? Does this guy wear the same shirt in every episode? This guy's worse than me. Like this is.
Yeah, but at least it's like active self-protection and not like
how to get AIDS.
Cat Ladies 101 or something like that. Or how to get AIDS, I guess. That's kind of a very short podcast.
Okay, no, the Albertan, I'm sorry. As much as I love old metal and old hair metal and 80s metal, and I love all kinds of metal, I am not going to copyright infringe on bands that I've enjoyed listening to for 20 years, because that's what Rod does on his podcast. But I appreciate the feedback.
Sooner or later, Vince Neil will put down the sandwich and get after Rod.
Well, that's my worry, right? Is I don't need to get sued. Pardon me, I don't need to get sued for this. There's enough things on here I say that I could get in trouble for. I don't need a copyright strike.
Yeah, we get enough of those.
Okay, so conceivably this active self-protection guy has been going for 7 years, but I'm not willing to listen to the episodes to see if the 7 years ago one included the outro music or not. God damn it.
Serenity now, man.
Yeah, whatever. We're still the coolest one.
We are the #1 firearms podcast in Canada.
Yeah.
I know this because we have metrics.
Yeah, we have the best metrics. They're huge. Huge.
We have all of them.
Yeah. We also make the best commercials for our friends.
We do. I mean, I have sold more Matador products than anybody else, so...
Wow.
If you want me to pimp your shit on my show, you can reach me at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Unless you're Rod, in which case I have your email. You just need to respond. It's the button at the top labeled reply. I think that's everything. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, remember, you are the true north, strong and free.